couple of weeks ago, I put out a video explaining the 3 chord concepts that you should probably understand and know for a given chord. Those 3 concepts are the arpeggios, the pentatonic scales, and the major scale. But in that video, we went over everything in the key of E in the C shape. Today, we're going to be doing the same exact thing, but running through the A shape, but this time in the key of D. We're in standard tuning, so let's not mess around and go ahead and get at it. My name is Keith. Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so as I stated, I did the same kind of exercise in a previous video. Go ahead and link it here. It was in the key of E in the C shape. So we went over those 3 things in the C shape. Today we're going to be doing it in the key of D, but in the A shape. So we're on the 5th fret and we're making that A shape. So let's take a look at that real quick. You take an A up here, you move it down here to the 7th fret. That's a D chord, but if we add the root down here, that turns it into a D chord as well. So that is where that D is derived from. So now that we got that straight, let's go ahead and start with the arpeggio. Okay, so the arpeggio of a major chord consists of the 1, the 3, and the 5 of a chord. So the 1 is the root, the 3 is the 3rd degree of that scale, so that'll be the 3rd, and the 5th will be the 5th degree. So if we look at it real quick, let's run through the arpeggios. Those are the 2 arpeggios that are in that shape. So with the chart up, the red denotes the root. The root is right here on the 5th fret of the A string. That's a D, right? And the 3rd is a blue. So the blue denotes the 3rd, and the yellow denotes the 5th. And then we have a root right here on the 7th fret of the G string, the 3rd on the 7th fret of the B string, and the 5th on the 5th fret of the E string. Right? So those are the arpeggios. Now, where are those arpeggios derived from? What are the 1, 3, and 5? If you don't know those, that's perfectly fine. We're going to go over those in a little bit when we talk about the major scale. I promise I won't skip over that. So let's move on to the pentatonic scale next. All right, so the pentatonic scale is something like this. All right, so now that we have that kind of quick, let's slow everything down. I'll just name out the frets as we go through it. So it'll be the 5th fret of the A string, that's our root, 7th fret, and then we're jumping down to the D string, 4th fret, and then the D string, 7th fret. Move down to the G string, 4th fret, and then 7th fret. That brings us down to the root. That's the 2nd root. 1st root, 2nd root, both Ds. So if we continue on, that's the 7th fret of the G string, that is the root, and then the 5th fret of the B string, 7th fret of the B string, 5th fret of the E, 7th fret of the E. And if you wanted to hit the root again, 10th fret. It's always good to hit that chord before and after you run through any of these exercises. Okay, so that is a very, very important thing. I promise we're going to be getting somewhere here, because that lick at the beginning of the video, I'm going to show you that and how I incorporated these chord concepts into that lick. So let's move on to the major scale and then we'll get into that. All right, so the major scale is this. So you'll notice that since we're in the A shape, we are starting up here, but we're ending here. It's because there's not enough strings, right? If you wanted to start in the key of A, for example, we could do everything in that one little box, but since we're skipping that low E string and our root starts right here, we have to kind of move up on the fretboard. But if we wanted to squeeze everything down, we could look at it this way. But it doesn't sound right. I always like to add that root. So let's count it out. The 1 will be right here, the root, 5th fret of the A string, then 7th. Then you skip down to the D string, 4th fret, then the 5th fret, then the 7th fret, then the 4th fret of the G string, 6th fret of the G string, then back around to the root, which is a D, and that's our 7th fret of that G string. Continuing on from there, root is right there, and then the 5th fret of the B string, the 7th fret of the B string, 8th fret, then skip down to the E string, that's the 5th fret, 7th fret, 9th fret, root. Alright, we have those down. I promise we're going to go over how the arpeggios relate to that, so let's take a look here. So if we actually counted everything out, instead of just counting the frets or stating the frets, we're going to count out the intervals. So we start with the root on the major scale, that's our 1, right? 1. The second note that we hit is our 2. 2. The third note that we hit in that scale is a 3. 3. So right now, we have the 2 components of the 3 of that arpeggio, the root and the third. Continue counting, so that's 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. We have the root, third, 5. Now, if we wanted to continue on, let's find the other root. It's on the G string 7th fret. 1, 2, 3. So we have root, third, then 4, 5. Root, third, 5. That's how we find the arpeggio. So the reason I wanted to show you that was because you don't have to memorize all the arpeggios across the fretboard, every octave, at least not right away. If you're having trouble and you want to figure them out without having to look it up, use the major scale as kind of a roadmap to identify it. What I like to do is find that root and then count from there. 1, 2, 3. So 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 3, 5. That's the way I kind of find things when I'm trying to figure things out that I don't have off the top of my head. Okay, so now that we have those down, what we need to do is figure out how to actually use those instead of just running through scales. It's one thing to just run through a scale. Mechanically, it's good. It makes you kind of memorize the scales. But you're not going to do that in the solo, right? What we want to do is integrate what we learn and actually use those in the solo. So I'm going to run through that beginning intro lick that I did there and slow it down, show you how I integrated everything into it. So let's go ahead and run through that. All right, so we're going to run through that lick, key of D, and we'll break it down into chunks. Alright, so what did I do there exactly? We're starting off with 6. If you don't know what the core concept of a 6 is, I'll explain it real quick, but I do have a video. I'm going to go ahead and kind of link it right up here, and we'll go through what a 6 is. So I'm starting right here, and if I look at this, I'm starting on that third of that D, right? 1, 2, 3. So if I count in that major scale, 6 intervals up, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are 6 intervals apart, but I don't want to play it like that. So I take that, that's a D actually, and I find that down here. Okay, so that's a D as well. So if I take the third and the root, those are 6 intervals apart. And the same thing applies to these notes. That's how we get that cool sound. Alright, so moving on, I'm staying in the pentatonic scale right here by hitting that 5th fret of the E string and the 7th fret. So all the notes that I'm going to be playing here are in the scale in the key of D, all within this A shape. So again, I'm running up on that pentatonic scale. And I'm doing this double stop. All the notes are in that scale, in that pentatonic scale. And then I want to do something with the arpeggios. Remember, this is part of our arpeggio. So, doing that little double stop, and then we're still in that pentatonic scale, remember? And in the major scale. So I'm taking the 1, 2, 3, 4. So the 2 and a 4, and sliding that up. Because if we look at the diagonal pentatonic, these notes are all in that diagonal pentatonic, which is different ways of playing that pentatonic scale. Doing that little double stop there, and then ending on an actual chord. Something like that. I just wanted to give you a little example of how I would think about integrating those three concepts into that one shape. So I really do hope that helped. If it did, leave a comment, like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope this helps. Again, you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Never gonna find it.